and says there's always room for growth and improvement in officiating. The commissioner said, I do find it interesting when you sit in the chair I sit in that no winning team ever complains about officiating, no losing team ever complains about officiating. So Kathy Engelbert, this is one of the worst takes I've ever heard. This is one of the worst takes I've ever heard from a commissioner of a league. Like, it is embarrassing. Like, it's an absolutely embarrassing take because
Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's tone-deaf response to Caitlin Clark's growing injury issues has sparked a flurry of criticism from basketball fans, players, and commentators worldwide, plunging the WNBA into an unprecedented crisis.
Now, a lot of people is criticizing the WNBA referees yet again after another matchup because they felt as if Paige Beckers actually had a special whistle. Now, I spoke about this last night, man, and people was definitely showing mixed reviews about it. But with all that being said, dog, we look like WNBA Commissioner Kathy has opened up about this situation a little bit and spoken about it.
Engelbert came out swinging not at the officials who have consistently failed to safeguard her league's biggest player, but at critics who dare to doubt the integrity of her officiating crew in what many are calling the most egregious display of leadership failure in professional sports history.
Realistically, Kathy Engelbert, what she should be doing is trying to promote the league, trying to make sure everything works, and just being this dismissive of what is one of the biggest problems in your entire league in the refereeing issue is awful. It is absolutely awful. And if you guys...
In a recent media session, the commissioner had the gall to defend the very referees who have permitted Clark to be abused game after game in response to growing evidence of biased officiating that has contributed to Clark's injury problems. It would be absurd if the commissioner's response weren't so detrimental to the league's reputation.
You put the girl on national TV, 40 out of the 44 regular season games, she don't get no foul calls at all. Her team gets no foul calls. So maybe this will be the wake-up call. When y'all see what these numbers look like without her, maybe this will open up your eyes, finally see and say, hey, you need to protect her. We can't have her get hurt. Maybe this will wake you up. Maybe this is what needed to happen. Obviously, we don't want Caitlin. But maybe this is the slap in the face, the trench of cold water on the face that the WNBA.
There is always space for development and enhancement in officiating, Engelbert said, using the type of vacuous corporate rhetoric that infuriates fans. But this is where it goes completely bonkers. Rather than admitting that her league's most valuable asset is being targeted on a regular basis, she had the audacity to brush off valid criticism by asserting that neither winning nor losing teams ever voice complaints about officiating.
Players and coaches obviously think so, but Engelbert isn't so alarmed. Basketball in general is considered difficult to officiate, which is true, and says there's always room for growth and improvement in officiating. The commissioner said, I do find it interesting when you sit in the chair I sit in that no winning team ever complains about officiating, no losing team ever complains about officiating. Do you want to know what coach complains about officiating more than anyone else? The Minnesota Lynx. The Minnesota Lynx. Do you want to know what game started the biggest what two games started the biggest refereeing talks in the WNBA over the last 2 years? The Indiana Fever versus the Chicago Sky when Kennedy Carter hip checked Caitlin Clark. Who won that game? The Indiana Fever.
Concerns regarding player safety and fair officiating are just resentment from failed teams, according to the woman entrusted with upholding the integrity of women's professional basketball. This is deliberate blindness cloaked in managerial haughtiness, not leadership.
She stated, get Kathy out of here. The job is too big for her now. This isn't normal. Ref complaints. Win or loss, there is genuine incompetence with WNBA referees. The team, players, fans have been complaining about Kathy not effing embarrassed watching this display.
While Engelbert ignores legitimate concerns and engages in semantic games, please subscribe if you're enjoying. Months ago, the statistics should have led to prompt disciplinary action because they depict such a terrible picture. One player out of hundreds of athletes has received almost 1/5 of the most serious infractions the game has to offer, and Caitlin Clark has been the target of 17% of all egregious fouls committed in the entire WNBA this season. But wait, it gets even more ridiculous. 80% of the egregious fouls against Clark have been committed by the Chicago Sky. How likely is it, mathematically speaking, that something would occur by chance? you'd be more successful. While getting struck by lightning during a solar eclipse and winning the lottery, Engelberg pretends this is simply another basketball game while sitting in her commissioner's chair.
Adam Silver, the NBA Commissioner. I'm starting to think you and Kathy Engelbert has something going on for as she's a puppet for you. Why are you not protecting or coming out and saying something to protect Caitlin Clark, aka CC, the face of the WNBA? It's really disturbing because at the end of the day, I thought you're supposed to look out for your people by any means. It's not even making sense. I understand.
The most telling statistic exposing Gilbert's total failure as a leader is that, after playing for Iowa for 4 years without missing a single regular season or playoff game due to injury, she suddenly enters the WNBA, where referees permit her to be targeted, pushed, and shoved, and she has already sustained 2 separate injuries in less than 20 games. The contrast between Iowa and the WNBA couldn't be more glaring or damning. The only notable injury that Clark had during her entire college career was a brief ankle injury against Kansas State in 2022, but even then, she played through it and dominated with 33 points. Clark was essentially indestructible, playing through minor bumps and bruises while staying on the court for 139 straight games.
This will be the wake-up call that the NBA needs to clean up the officiating, to actually show that they appreciate this golden goose that has landed in their lap that goes by the name of Caitlin Clark. It's been so long where we've just seen this girl getting beat up in games. We see her get grabbed, hacked, bumped into, knocked on the floor. There's never any whistles from her. In my opinion, the WNBA has shown a true lack of appreciation for Caitlin. I don't feel like they've done enough to protect their best asset, their most important asset. I feel like they have dropped the ball on that. 1,000% they have.
Everything changed when Clark joined Engelberg's WNBA. In May, she suffered a left quadricep strain that kept her out of action for at least 2 weeks. This injury happened after officials permitted excessive contact against her during a game against the New York Liberty, where she played almost 38 minutes while enduring what fans described as intentional physical targeting. A few weeks after recovering from that initial injury, Clark is now dealing with a left groin strain that has kept her out of action. As if her defense of skilled officiating wasn't offensive enough, this second injury followed another badly run game in which referees once again failed to shield the league's most marketable player from needless collision. When challenged to address the negative aspects of social media and racist harassment aimed at WNBA players, fans and players are no longer prepared to put up with Engelbert's history of tone-deaf replies to important topics. Engelbert's response was so poor that the league immediately reacted negatively.
Hey, Cece, she a different breed, bruh. And y'all, just me seeing all of these fouls, and y'all don't treat Paige like that? Why y'all don't treat her like that? You hear me? Paige don't be embarrassing her opponents like Cece do, huh? I ain't gonna lie. Caitlin Clark, she a different breed. And then Kathy Engelbert, she has no remorse, no sympathy or nothing. I know she's a puppet. At the end of the day, Stephanie White, all of them, bro, because it's not making sense, bro. What?
Rather of categorically denouncing harassment, Engelbert framed the toxic environment around Clark and other players as healthy competition by drawing comparisons to Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. The WNBA Players Association was compelled to release a statement denouncing Angel Engelbert for his inaction in addressing the players' experiences with racism, misogyny, and harassment. The commissioner later apologized half-heartedly, acknowledging that her response was inadequate. However, the issue is that, as the head of a professional sports league, you can't afford to overlook fundamental player safety and human decency issues. You either get it right the first time or find another position. In addition to being unsightly, Engelbert's mistakes have had a devastating financial impact on the WNBA. The data presents a frightening picture for all parties involved in women's professional basketball. Since Clark's injury, WNBA viewership on national television has fallen by 55%. The number of people watching the Fever's nationally televised games has decreased by 53%, from an average of 1.81 million prior to Clark's injury to just 847,000 now. These figures don't simply reflect the WNBA's complete disregard for its most significant expansion prospect in decades. What did Engelbert's administration do in return for Clark's single-handed contribution to women's basketball? They allowed her to be beaten into submission by referees who either couldn't or wouldn't do their jobs. Clark packed arenas, broke viewership records, and garnered more mainstream media attention than the league had ever seen.
But I'm going to keep saying it. Something is going on. I don't know what it is, man, but that's uncalled for. And we can see it. I don't know if we need to look into the committee, with the higher up players, the veteran players. I don't know what we need to look at, but we need to look somewhere because this is crazy.